what I wish I knew about masculinity in my 20s and men's mental health. I want to talk about this on today's podcast. Welcome back to the Men's Mental Health Podcast. I am 34 years old at the time of recording this episode, and I thought it was really important I'd like to share what I've learned in my life, not by any means saying that I've got all the answers figured out. In fact, even over the weekend, I've had to do a lot of emotional release, emotional deep diving. I always feel like when I share stuff and reflect, though, it really helps me and actually can help other people as well. Other guys, you may be listening here and maybe you're in your 20s or maybe you're in your whatever age you are, and you're just wanting to hear a perspective from another man. And therefore, I thought I'd share that with you today in terms of what I wish I knew in my 20s without, trying to go back in time and change it, because I can't, but just reflection and what I've really learned in my time on the planet. Now, I used to think had this view that masculinity was this, the kind of guy who gets all the girls, he looks really impressive and all these kind of things. I thought that's what masculinity was, or that he had achieved X, Y, Z. He had a certain amount of money, and therefore I spent a lot of my 20s, quite a lot of my 20s partying, admittedly, and various things like that. But I thought I had to achieve, to get more, and I've always been chasing. And actually, there were some really dark moments in my 20s whereby I really didn't like waking up. I felt miserable, depressed. Even the start of my 30s, a couple of years, I really had to do some deep diving. I particularly had to do a lot of deep diving this year, and it's really been paying off for me. But I wanted to share a perspective today. And I think it's important that as human beings, we can share our experience with one another, because it may really help someone, like I said. But maybe you're someone right now who's going around in circles, doing the same things and being stuck. Well, I've totally been there, and I guess it didn't do me any favors. I'm sure it didn't do you any favors by repeating the same thing. So I want to just give a perspective today. So here are some lessons I want to share with you. The first one is it's not about doing all the time. I see this on social media and it kind of pisses me off. But then I can't control other people or other guys. Like men going, oh, the masculine's all about doing and getting all these things. It's it is not. I had in my perception, I've had a couple of really great men's coaches who were really, really far on their journey. They'd really done the work, they didn't drink. They were very good at sitting their own emotions. And therefore they had beautiful relationships with, both of them were in relationships with a beautiful partner they attracted, and they were doing what they loved, right? That for me as a man is pretty awesome. And it is great that I've pulled those things towards me in my own life, starting to do more of what I love. Attracted someone awesome in, and it's just when I was able to learn from those guys, it really helped me. And they're not about doing, they do stuff. They have to, we have to live in the practical world, right? We have to do things to pay our taxes, keep records of our business numbers, and that's what they were doing, practically pay the bills and everything like that. But there's also a sense of being. And that for me is masculinity. It's about being, holding the space, right? Holding the space for emotions, holding the space for others, creating direction, clarity, leadership. It's not just about doing, because you can be doing and being busy, right? And it's not necessarily serving you or fulfilling you, but it's about holding that space, witnessing your own emotions so you can be better at holding other people's emotions. And again, it's not about you just getting people to tell you all what's going on in their life and be the agony aunt all the time, if that's the right term. But it's about you holding space for your own self. So it's not just about doing. And I wish I knew that sooner, else I wouldn't have exhausted myself out all the time and then washed it away by drinking pretty much every weekend, going out partying heavy. The second thing I wish I knew was kind of leading on from that point is role modeling the right people. Now, I never really followed the Andrew Tates of the world or anyone like that, and I'm not going to give an opinion or anything on that. But there's a lot of, there's a lot of guys out there that are like, this is how to get women, this is how to get a jet, this is that kind of thing. And I must admit, in my 20s, I would like look up to the guys who had like the money, had the girls, and all those kind of things. And what I realized is I didn't really look at who I was role modeling, because actually people showing off like that, there's often an insecurity behind. Instead, I wish I looked more at the results of people I was role modeling. Like, what is it I really truly want? Not what do I want in terms of impressing people on the outside or getting like short-term validation on that dopamine hit, but what do I truly want? And therefore follow someone who had exactly what I wanted and they weren't needing to show it off. The third thing I wish was I knew. And again, this is not like being like, oh, I messed it up. This is like reflection. This is like how I embed my life now. And this is just some lessons. Is I wish I impressed myself first, not other people. That was a really big one for me, that I impressed myself first. Like, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this to earn X amount of money or get this amount of stats and look really impressive to other people. Instead, I wish I impressed myself, and more importantly, my inner child within inside of me, that I was living a life that is true to me than just trying to impress people on the outside. The fourth thing I wish I knew in my masculinity about in my 20s was holding my own emotions first. So being able to hold my own feminine energy, because all human beings have a masculine and a feminine energy. But I would not hold my feminine energy. And yeah, if you can't hold your own feminine energy, if you're a heterosexual guy like myself and you meet a woman, how are you going to look after, like, hold space for her and be there for her if you can't hold your own feminine energy? Like, that's where, in my view, relationships get sour. Like, because the guy's just ignoring her and then she's getting more frustrated, but the guy often can't hold his own feminine energy. So that's one thing I wish I did, because I actually pushed away my emotions, and it was about achieving or drinking it away or some kind of achievement or outworking. And therefore, like, there was a couple of moments where it really came out, like, and therefore that was a build up of my own emotions. So that's another thing. I wish I learned to hold my own feminine energy. Now, I like to do that now. Like earlier, I felt I needed to let some stuff out. So I held myself, I allowed the space, and I worked through that. And that actually helped me regulate my nervous system. Crying and giving out emotions, I don't recommend you ever do that on the first date or even the second date or multiple dates in, right? But like, being all in front of other people necessarily, you can do if you're in a men's group and stuff like that. I've done that in men's group. But holding space for yourself where you can just scream into a pillow if you need, cry, shake it out, that is healthy, because you're allowing your own emotions to flow, and that's allowing your own feminine energy within you. And then the final thing I wish I knew was being brutally honest with addictive behaviors. We hear, I made an episode on addiction the other day. We hear things like alcohol, drugs, but there's many addictions in this world. Actually, you could argue the addictions of different types of drug. There's things like alcohol, drugs, pornography, food, social media, our phones, all those kind of things, right? And I wish I got a bit more honest with like my bad behaviors, like going out every weekend, right? I wasn't drinking every day and I could, function and stuff like that, but I was going out partying a lot. Like, I often had a addiction to escaping reality, like daydreaming, listening to music for many years of my life. And if I got more honest with those, I would have been more present in life, and therefore I would have showed up for me more. I know, like, my relationships with people were pretty good in general, but like, that would have really improved my life in many different areas. So that's another one I'd recommend, getting brutally honest. We've all got addictive behaviors, whatever it is fine. But yeah, just being very honest with your behaviors, because once you can be truthful with yourself, you can work on it. But if you're running away and then using things and being in denial, you ain't going to change anything. So that's what I want to share today in terms of what I wish I knew about masculinity in my 20s. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you for being here. And remember to lead with your heart not with fear.